Good morning to Keep the Faith with Pastor Frank. Pray you're doing well. Give me an opportunity to greet you this morning. And we're going to be in 1 Peter chapter 4. Seems like I can't get out of 1 Peter, but that don't hurt anything. Good morning, Pastor Gary. It's good to see you online this morning. Good morning. Good morning, Brother Lee. Good to see you this morning. Hopefully, I don't know. This says we're still live, so um, good morning, Brother James. Good morning, Gigi. Good morning, Mother. Good morning, Brother Lewis and Sister Gail. Good morning, Janine. Good morning, Sister Liz. Well, if y'all are still with me, we're going to be in 1 Peter chapter 4, and it's raining here, so I may lose you again. If I do, I may do. Don't get too excited. We'll get back together on Thursday. So I just want to let everyone know um, my wife's, Nancy's sister, passed away yesterday. So be praying for the whole family that they'll have the peace of God and just let the love of Jesus flow through their life. Uh, so 1 Peter chapter 4. Good morning, Sister Crystal. Cheryl, do you have sound now? Y'all let me know if you can hear me. Just a couple of you type in. It's showing I'm broadcasting. So Gigi. Okay, good. All right. Uh, 1 Peter chapter 4. I'm going to read. Uh, Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Janine. Good. Thank you, Gail. All right, good. So then, 1 Peter 4, Thank you, Sister Nell. Good to see you online this morning. Everybody. Okay, good. Thanks, everybody. At least I know you can hear me. Okay, 1 Peter chapter 4, and I'm just going to read verse 1. And my topic this morning is living for God. So then, since Christ suffered physical pain, you must arm yourselves with the same attitude he had and be ready to suffer also. For if you have suffered physically for Christ, you have finished with sin. You won't spend the rest of your lives chasing your own desires, but you will be anxious to do the will of God. You've had enough in the past of the evil things that godless people enjoy: their immorality and lust, their feasting and drunkenness and wild parties, and their terrible worship of idols. Of course, your former friends are surprised when you no longer plunge into the flood of wild and destructive things they do, so they slander you. But remember that they will have to face God, who will judge everyone, both the living and the dead. That is why the good news was preached to those who are now dead. So although they were destined to die like all people, they now live forever with God in the Spirit. The end of the world is coming soon. Therefore, be earnest and disciplined in your prayers. Most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. And I'll stop right there. Uh, you know, probably most of the people listening to me haven't suffered physically for Christ. Well, you probably suffered emotionally, and some of us may have even been made fun of, but probably there's not this little group that we have right now is we haven't been thrown in jail for Christ. We haven't been beaten for Christ's sake. We haven't experienced a lot of that. But that doesn't mean that we haven't gone through things that cause us to understand that living for Christ, there is some suffering. I know that the popular version of becoming a Christian is that if you become a Christian, then all your troubles go away, all of your problems are taken care of, and of course you begin to have funds, and you begin to have good health, and you begin to have a lot of things, which has been very popular teaching for many, many years. And this says that we should prepare ourselves at least with the same attitude that Christ had and be ready to suffer too. And it says if you've suffered physically for Christ, you cease from sin. You won't spend the rest of your lives chasing your own desire. And the thing is that I think a lot of us, as we mature in Christ, we find that time when we stop running after everything it seems like the world wants. We find that time where those things are less enjoyable to us. They're less attractive to us. And some at a very young age, others as time goes on, the closer you get to Christ and the more you mature, the less attractive the things of the world become. And there's so many things that this mentions here: immorality and lust, feasting, drunkenness, wild parties, and terrible worship of idols. And so I want you to understand, in idol worship, God considers that a terrible thing, to worship other things besides him. Now, I know over the years I've seen people who spend all their time with they may be a specific thing. Some people have even said I spend too much time with my motorcycle, but I don't worship my motorcycle. And to me, it's just a tool. But, a lot of times when people want to say something negative about you or point out something negative about you, this scripture tells us they're going to be surprised when you don't go do the same things they used to do and go to the places they do, where you don't even like the things they do, and then they'll talk bad about you. I remember when I got saved, I went back to some of the places that I used to go, and most of the times when I went, it was at night, it was dark, and they were all lit up, and it looked like a cool place. But if you drive up in the parking lot at 8 o'clock in the morning, it looks like just a piece of junk. I don't know. It always amazed me, because after I became a Christian and had been a Christian for some time, and I went and just drove up in the parking lot of a couple of those places, I was just amazed that they had been attractive to me. So our perspective changes, our mind changes. This says we could actually suffer physically for Christ. And I don't know that, I've thought about that a lot, but it's I know in other countries that's a very real possibility, especially in some countries today. So we just need to remember that they're going to have to face God, and we need to be praying for them, that God will give them a way that they can understand the love and grace of Jesus Christ. So it says that is why the good news was preached to those who are now dead. So although they were destined to die like all people, they now live forever with God in the Spirit. And so you need to understand that the good news that we preach today is the same good news that those that have gone on before us believed. And that's why they're with the Lord today. We need to realize that good news is still, that gospel, that salvation through Jesus Christ is still the same message that we need to carry today as those who have gone on before us heard before. Because now they're with the Lord, and we still face trials and tribulations. We still face decisions we have to make and things. And God help us, it says that the end of the world is coming. And I don't know about you, but if you're a student of prophecy, and I know some of you are students of prophecy, then you can realize that we really do live near the end days. And so we need to consider all of the things that Peter's teaching here, and there's a possibility we could suffer for the cause of Christ. There's a possibility we could be put in jail because we believe in Jesus Christ. There's a possibility we could be beaten because we believe in Jesus Christ. But I don't say that to cause you to be afraid. I just say that the Bible says, we need to prepare ourselves. And I don't know that I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about being beaten and being thrown in jail over what I believe. But the truth is if you understand what's really happening, you're better able to operate and navigate in the time. And the time that we live in is a very volatile time. It's not things aren't as static as they were several years ago. Things are changing quickly. But one thing that I want to mention this morning, I pray that people still understand the need they have to join together as believers and worship God. I think I think that the church is still a vital part of the ministry to people that need Jesus. And I think it's also a vital part of ministry to us who are believers, so we can get together and worship and praise and share the gospel among us. So, uh, so this thing is uh, I don't know. It was so long ago when I became a Christian, but I had people that um, actually that were close to me that stopped hanging out with me because I just didn't hang out in the places they hung out anymore. They really didn't slander me. They really didn't talk bad about me and a lot of stuff like that. They just really didn't understand, even when I tried to explain it. So realize that when you are a Christian, your perspective is very different from the person that's not a Christian. And so I've seen some Christians that just don't understand why people do what they do, where 2 years before they were doing the same things because they seemed like the end thing to do. But once you receive Christ, you begin to have the mind of Christ, and those things are no longer attractive. So I know I kind of wandered around a little bit this morning, but I just wanted to to share with you, living for God doesn't always mean that you're going to have a, a smooth sailing or a clear path or plenty of money, or you are always going to feel great all the time. Now I know there's a few people on this on online this morning with me that are at least my age, but I'll tell you what I've learned. I've learned that as I get older, some parts don't function as well as they used to, and I and some of them hurts most of the time. So it's not, doesn't mean you're not a Christian. It doesn't mean you don't have faith. It means that you're living the real world. So don't misunderstand me. God's power and provision are always there for you. God's healing is always there for you. God's love is always there for you. All of these are always there for you. But do remember this: we live in a lost and dying world, and that can't help but affect us as we go through this life. So I just want you to understand, when I say keep the faith, I mean you're going to have to keep the faith all the time, whether you go to school, whether you don't, whether you go to work, wherever you're at, you're going to have to keep the faith. So keep on loving Jesus, keep on loving each other. I really do appreciate you joining me at 6:30 in the morning here. I I know it sounds strange, but I'm even more excited about doing this now than I was when I started it. But I just pray that uh, uh, God would just bless you and continue to lift you up, encourage you, to provide for you, and love on you. So God bless you this morning. Keep the faith. I'll talk to you again Thursday morning, unless I forget and do one of those Wednesday mornings. Much love to all of you. Keep the faith.